Welcome back to the channel. I am really glad you're here. Tonight is going to be a special night because we have a very special guest. As you know, Neil from Messick's Equipment will be joining us very soon. But first, we're going to have a little bit of fun, so stick around. Live stream number 9. Number 9. For all my Beatles fans out there. I'm smiling because I'm already looking at some of the comments, and I'm happy to see that there's some dad jokes rolling in the comments, and maybe that's something I need to get back to because that was part of one of the first live streams, if not the very first live stream, little filler with some dad jokes, but that's pretty good. So I appreciate that, and I'll have to up my game a little bit with dad jokes. So welcome tonight. Again, a little bit of feedback is always helpful just to let me know that you can see everything, you can hear everything, and say hey to a few folks here. 6D Ranch was the first one on, and first comment, good to see you. And, of course, Caden's Outdoor Life. We talked about Caden last week, and we'll talk probably a little bit about that more tonight. Edward Joyce, good to see you. Chesapeake Bay Cruiser with a great dad joke there, yes. So I am really glad to see you. Phil Schneider is on, and AK Dad Stuff. Hey, Mike from Alaska. Good to see you. Let me go through, see where we are with some things here. First, let me look back here. All right. Sounds like. Yep, did a little test. I can hear myself. All right, so welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tonight is Monday, March 22nd. As I've mentioned in the past, you can find the channel on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, all at My Cluttered Garage. You'll find me there. If you enjoy the program tonight at any point, please give it a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. It's very helpful, and it's something that I very much appreciate. Whoever keeps hitting that thumbs down, I hope you're here tonight, but there's always this one thumbs down. I think it's kind of funny. Anyway, so about tonight's show, as I mentioned, Neil Messick will be joining us, waiting patiently in the green room. So I'm excited for that. I do want to talk about some other upcoming guests, so let me look for those as I click around here. Here we go. So obviously tonight, Monday, March 22nd, we've got Neil joining us. This week, we're going to have 2 live streams. Kind of fun. Thursday night at 8 p.m. It's going to be an hour later, but Josh from the Stony Ridge Farmer YouTube channel will be joining us. Many of you might be familiar with Josh. He's got a really interesting channel in North Carolina. He's got a farm, I believe it's 75 acres, doing some homesteading and really rebuilding this farm and doing some great things on there. He's got a great channel. He's got about 500,000 subscribers, and you should definitely check out the Stony Ridge Farmer before you join us on Thursday night so you see a little bit about Josh. And then next Monday, the final Monday in March, we've got Mike from AskTractorMike.com. Tractor Mike has a great YouTube channel as well, so check that one out and get to know Mike a little bit before next Monday and come back with your questions for Tractor Mike. What else now? Getting back to the comments. I see John Ritter. Ritter will do. Good to see you, John. As many of you know, John was my first live stream guest. We had a lot of fun with John. Truck Roast. Good to see you. A little bit of dad joke going on there, too. Good point. The early bird gets the worm, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese. M plus J, good to see you. Whose birthday is it? Mike's birthday? Is that Mike from AK or another Mike? A lot of Mikes around here. Caden got the stickers. He won the stickers last week. That's something we've been doing the last few live streams is toward the end of the evening, we pick a winner, and I send you 3 stickers because I like 3. That way you can stick them on 3 different things. So stick around, no pun intended, and you might win 3 of these My Cluttered Garage vinyl stickers. Listen closely because maybe we'll bring up a little bit of trivia from tonight and ask the question later on. So, barbers are in the house. Maggie, it's actually Glenn using Maggie's account. Good to see you, Glenn. And O&D Life. Oh, AK Dads. He's 39. Congratulations, Mike. So, well, I will share with you the person on this end of the camera had a birthday yesterday. Okay, so before we move on, I like to talk a little bit about the day of the month, the day of the year, March 22nd today. Some fun facts. Today is National Goof Off Day. I didn't know that. I got up at 5:30 this morning and went to work. Had I known it was National Goof Off Day, I might have goofed off a little bit. I'll have to remember that for next year. March 22nd, mark your calendar, National Goof Off Day. Also, for any friends we have from West Virginia, today is National West Virginia Day. So, happy National West Virginia Day. Each state has a day dedicated to it. So, today happens to be National West Virginia Day. We honor those in West Virginia. There are some other fun facts I was going to share with you because, well, they're fun. Some of these are not so fun. I'll skip over some that aren't so fun. Well, I'll tell you this one. On this day, March 22nd, 1978, 73-year-old Karl Wallenda, he was the German-American tightrope walker with the Great Wallendas. He fell over 100 feet to his death during a performance in Puerto Rico. You may have seen it on television and YouTube, but sad, sad. 1972, it was illegal for unmarried people to possess birth control. Supreme Court overruled that on March 22nd, 1972, making it legal. Imagine that. This is fun. In the year 1900, on this day, Anne Rainsford French Bush is believed to be the first American woman to have a driver's license. She was granted a steam engineer's license, locomobile class, by the city of Washington, D.C., which allowed her to operate a four-wheeled vehicle powered by steam or gas. Her father was a doctor, and she chauffeured him on his rounds. He also made her learn how to disassemble and reassemble steam engines on the vehicle before she could apply for her license because steam engines of the period were very dangerous and required some expertise in order to operate them safely. She never had an accident or a traffic violation, although she stopped driving in 1903. Only 3 years. She had her license from 1900 and stopped driving in 1903. I have a feeling there might have been a little bit of, maybe it could have been some family dysfunction there. She was driving her dad to his appointments and probably said, "What am I, your chauffeur?" "Yes, I am." Back to the comments before I finish up a few of these interesting facts to make sure we're not missing anything. Kate was born in West Virginia. Well, happy West Virginia Day, Kate. And there are conversations happening between people, which I love to see because these channels are all about the community and people helping each other, getting to know each other. So I love that you guys have your own conversations going on in there. Might be a little hard for me to follow along, but I do appreciate it. What else? Do you want to hear something kind of creepy? I hesitate to share this, but I don't think we have any really young children watching. But this was weird. This is another fact. March 22nd, 1881, the outlaw known as Big Nose George Parrott was lynched. Afterwards, his skin was tanned and made into a pair of shoes. And the top of his skull was used as an ashtray. I had to look this up in a couple different places because I didn't believe it. We're talking about America here. This happened in America. He and his gang killed a Wyoming deputy sheriff and a Union Pacific detective who had been sent to track them down after a botched train robbery. After Parrott was arrested in Montana, he was returned to Wyoming, where he was convicted of murder and sentenced to hang. While awaiting execution, he assaulted his jailer in an escape attempt. The enraged townsfolk dragged him from his cell and lynched him. Then, this is where it gets even weirder, Doctors John Eugene Osborne and Thomas McGee then studied Parrott's brain for clues to his criminality. In the process, anyway, the medical assistant was given the part and made an ashtray out of it. Then they sent parts to a tannery and made, I can't believe I'm reading this, and made shoes out of his hide, and Dr. Osborne then wore those shoes to his inauguration after he was elected governor of Wyoming. These are some strange, strange facts. Okay. Well, there are still several people watching, so I didn't lose you on that one. Strange enough. Yes, Linda, that is gross. Well, look it up. Big Nose George Parrott. The shoes are actually in I believe a Wyoming museum. They saved them. Wait for it. There they are. Those are the shoes. And there's Big Nose George. Crazy, right? Crazy. Enough of that. Are you guys, do you have your questions ready for Neil? Because he is waiting patiently, and we really want to bring him on here. Very excited for this. So think about your questions for Neil. And before I bring Neil on, one thing I like to do, as you know, is I like to introduce the guest. Neil and his family own Messick's equipment. They have several locations in Pennsylvania. We'll talk about that. But the reason that I know Neil is because he has a YouTube channel, and he highlights not only the equipment that they sell, but really great information, how-to videos, explanations of the equipment itself. I watched probably every one of Neil's videos about the Kubota compact tractors before I purchased my B2601 from my local dealer. I'll wait till Neil's on because I want to talk about that because that was kind of neat. So let me show you a little intro to Neil and his channel, and then we will bring him on.
Hey guys, Neil from Messick's here. We're out today with two of our Kubota B-Series tractors from two different families. Today's 3-Minute Thursday is going to be a short conversation about the proper time to check the hydraulic fluids on your tractor. Our number 5 most frustrating implement to use is a 3-point hitch snowblower. The description that we were given by Kubota is that this door is heavy enough that you can run a fork from a 16,000-pound forklift right into this back of this machine at full speed and not penetrate the door. The RC56 in this case stands for the RoboCut 56. So as far as hillside stability goes, this thing's pretty incredible. Guys, Neil from Messick's. We had a theft here at our Bendersville store about 2 weeks ago. Came away with some good footage from it, and this one actually kind of has a happy ending. So number 1 on the list of the worst tractor attachments is drive-over mower decks. When we talk about these at 26 and 33 horsepower, remember that horsepower is often a really dangerous way to look at a piece of equipment. The size of the machine, the weight of it, tells a lot more about what it's necessarily going to be capable of doing than what the pure engine horsepower does. The installation of these in the back of your tractor couldn't be easier. So really, you only need one tool. Set of pliers is really going to be all you need. If you have questions about purchasing a piece of equipment, parts needs for machines that you already have, or if you need a piece of equipment that needs serviced, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messick's.com.
Messick's, a helping hand with your land.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Neil Messick, live in person. Good to see you, Neil.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad you joined us tonight. I I feel like I know you, and probably a lot of the viewers feel the same way too, because I watched so many of your videos, and you do such a fantastic job with them. So thank you for the content that you put out that help many of us all the time. So
Absolutely. I have a great time with it. It's a fun part of my day.
probably not something you expected that you'd be doing early on. You probably started putting out some videos, and yeah, I mean, you've created a really good channel with a lot of great content.
Thank you. No, it is for us, obviously for our dealership, it's a marketing effort, right? It's a way to get our name out there and get people considering buying our products. But for a long time, you definitely, when you have a channel of 1,000 subscribers and you're running around with the video camera, people do look at you a little funny for a while. But as YouTube has evolved as a platform and our viewership has grown, it's been a really worthwhile thing for us.
Excellent. Well, I want to talk about the dealership. I want to get to some of these questions from folks. But if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the history of Messick's. I know you have several locations. Obviously, it's a family business because it's your name. So can you tell us a little bit about how the company started and when it started and a little bit?
Yes, we're a family business, right? YouTube community tends to only see me, but we're a much bigger organization than what I'm able to reflect. My grandfather would have started our dealership in 1952. So for a number of years, we were just an Farmall International old Cub Cadet dealer. At one point, they even sold appliances and that kind of stuff when that was part of IH's product line. So out of a little store in Middletown, Pennsylvania. And as most small business stories go, years went by, they continued to grow, they moved into a new location. My grandfather started the business with some other family who eventually got out pretty early on, but my dad and uncle then joined several years later. Eventually my grandfather retired and then passed, and my dad and uncle still do come to work most days, but they are mostly retired at this point. All of us are there. Their family is there. Their work community is there. So they're still there a lot, but their day-to-day responsibilities and all the stresses of running the business at this point have been fully passed on to those of us in the third generation. So I'm the oldest on my side of the family. I have 2 younger brothers and 2 older cousins. So there's 5 of us Messicks in total.
So you said your dad and uncle are the ones who, okay. So they probably celebrate National Goof Off Day then, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And where was the initial location, the original location?
So all of our stores, we have 5 locations currently, are basically surrounding the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area. Many people would know Lancaster County for tourism purposes. We're a big Amish, a big agricultural tourism area, and our main hub store is in a town called Elizabethtown. We're part of that Lancaster County agricultural tourism thing that goes on over here.
Right. I see here on the map, you basically surround Harrisburg. Yep. Excellent. Well, that is a lot to maintain, I'm sure. I mean, to have inventory at every one of those stores and staff, that's a big operation. That's a lot. It's a lot to manage.
It's a lot to keep after. I mean, we do a lot of different product lines and a lot of different segments. So we'll do agriculture is the root of our business, right? We are primarily an ag equipment dealership. A lot of what you see from us on YouTube does tend to be slanted towards the compact tractor side. This is the audience for that kind of customer. Right. But over half of what we do is in agriculture. We're 40 minutes away from New Holland's corporate headquarters. So we're a big New Holland hay tools area. There's factory is right down the road from us. We also do a lot of about 20-25% of our business is construction equipment. And then compact tractors and zero turn mowers and lawn and garden stuff and that kind of thing that rounds it all out.
Right. That's a good point because like you said, a lot of your content focuses on compact and subcompact tractors because that's more of the probably consumer level market. So you have a big customer base there and that would make sense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you guys make videos. Many of you here on the stream make videos too. You can't not be drawn by viewership, right? I know that I can put up a Kubota video and get tens of thousands of views, and if I put up something with combines, I'm going to get 2,500. And it's not that customer is less important to us. But that's who the audience is here online. So it's a challenge for me because doing YouTube, I don't really fully reflect the full scope of what we do as a company.
Right, right. And I see a comment from Chest Bay Cruiser there, very helpful for education during his purchase and research. And that's I was waiting till you were on screen to tell this story, but I purchased my B2601, obviously local. I have a dealer within 10 minutes, maybe less. And they did a good job. But when the driver delivered my B2601, he said, "Do you need me to go over anything with you?" And I said, "Well, I've watched every video on YouTube about this tractor." And he said, "Well, who'd you watch?" And I said, Messick's. And he's like, "Oh," he said, "You're good then." Like,
Yeah.
So that was funny that even the dealers recognize your channel and the content that you put out there.
YouTube has changed our business in a lot of ways, not just me or my personal business, but for equipment dealers in general, because a lot of you are much more educated about this equipment now, right? It's our usual delivery process used to take an hour and a half as we go through and take the loader on and off and take the mower decks on and off and that kind of thing. And anymore, so many people have already seen those things done on YouTube and don't even really care to see a demonstration in their driveway, because when they want to do it, they'll just get their phone out and look it up online. So yeah, it's just the dynamics of YouTube have really changed our business in the last 5 years.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, you should be able to see some of these comments on the screen as well. So anything that you want to pick out and respond to, we can certainly do that. And a thank you there from Edward Joyce.
There's one there from, what's your name, Brandon Fezenko, about waiting for equipment right now. So that's one thing that we absolutely can talk about, inventory levels. For a lot of you going through the buying process right now, that's probably top of mind. The state of inventory really varies a lot depending on what model you're looking at. There would be some things that we're starting to have some inventory of on the lot, but there's certainly a lot of stuff too. If you're getting into some really complicated configurations that can take months. Backhoes in particular are really far behind. A lot of the accessory kits like third function valves or Lampride implements and that kind of stuff are months behind. There's some stuff right now that we go to place an order with, we'll be lucky to see things by the end of the year, to be honest, and construction equipment and that kind of stuff especially. It's just driven by a lot of different things. Market demand is up. Our industry is something that's done well through COVID because of people being at home on their properties, and the increase is more than what the manufacturers have been able to keep up with. And I'm sure coupled with the difficulties of running large factories and building things with tens of thousands of parts right now, right? All of these things are just complicated. So all of that said, definitely see equipment going out the door. We are still selling more stuff every month than we ever have before. It just is really difficult. When you go looking at a tractor, if you have a tractor, a loader, a mower deck, an implement, a third function valve, whatever to go on it, we're looking at having to get together in 5 and 6 different pieces in order to have something complete. And more often than not, one of those things is running behind. So we're delivering a lot of half-finished tractors and that kind of stuff. So it's, we try to stay positive about it. When I say that more equipment is going out the door than it ever has before, that's true. My March sales right now are nearly double March of last year. So we're just pre-selling a lot, right? Something comes off the truck, it's already got a name on it, and it's out the door as soon as we can get things prepped. So you have this weird dichotomy of record sales, but record low inventory levels.
Right. Yeah, that's well, let me give a quick shout out to Betsy and Mark. Good to see you guys. I shared the story. One of my videos was the story of how I bent my front end loader on my compact tractor. And the recap of that is that I had cut a maple tree down. It was a pretty large tree for a small tractor. I was using my Lampride grapple, and that grapple adds so much functionality to your tractor that I think you can overdo it. And I clamped onto that tree, and it wouldn't pick it up. But I found that if I rolled it back, I could get it, a little bit off the ground. So I got it off the ground, and I was backing up, and I hit the tree stump and just racked the whole loader assembly. And it just, it was about 4 inches racked on one side and was not able to, couldn't bend it back for anything. It was a K-TAC claim. The dealer did really well by me, but it took 4 months to get the parts in for that thing. it was basically most of the summer. I was able to still use it. I wasn't able to grade anything because it was was crooked, but I could still use it. But good experience with K-TAC. Was glad to have that. Because it was a brand new tractor, it was financed. I had to have insurance on it. I'm kind of glad I did, because I don't know if I would have done that if I didn't have to. I'm glad I had it. So I'm sure you see a lot, and I've seen some of your videos on the Kubota insurance policy.
Yeah, and people are starting to understand its value now. I think you're starting to hear enough stories like yours that when we come to somebody and say, "Oh, by the way," selling insurance always makes us feel like sleazy car salesmen. Like what tractor you're buying, and you sit down at the salesman's desk to wrap up the town. And you're like, "Oh, by the way, here's this insurance that you need to have."
Yeah.
And it's not that, right? It's largely not a profit center for us. And you see the stories online that this is too good to be true in the insurance world. It's not cheap. It's not the cheapest way out there to get your tractor insured. But you will not find any insurance company with a claims history like this. It's pretty cool. But your 4-month wait time, I mean, that's just the unfortunate reality right now. It's, as much as we try to fight against it and do our best in order to get things out the door, it's just really hard.
Yeah. No, I understood. It was just how it was. And like I said, I was able to still use it. It would have been very frustrating if the machine was down for 4 months, but I was fortunate that I could still get by. So it was doable.
Yeah. John Ritter there is asking if you can purchase K-TAC on an older Kubota. Yes. It has nothing to do with us, though. You just simply look them up online and give them a call, and they'll talk you through the whole process.
Good to know. So even if you buy a tractor privately, as
Yep.
long as it's a Kubota, you can add that insurance.
Right. Where we come in is generally when you're financing a tractor, because that finance piece of equipment has to have insurance on it to cover it for loss, right? Unsurprisingly. But the many people that choose to pay cash for their tractors, a lot of them are coming in wanting K-TAC because of those stories that they read like yours. Right. And we'll choose to go to them directly and buy it, and they'll sell it directly to you. It's very much the same coverage.
I would imagine there may be some inspection process if you're buying it for a used machine. No. I mean, there's some wait periods and stuff so you can make some claims and hour limits. I don't think you could take something that's like from the 1980s or something like that, right? They probably have their limits, right? Or you pay more than the tractor's worth for the insurance, right?
Yeah, we turn stuff over to them all the time.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Little compliment there from K&H, your online parts.
Thank you.
I was gonna mention that, so I'll bring that up now. And somebody also mentioned your sale to Tim, Tractor Time with Tim, he went orange this time, which is fun. That was a neat video you did, the collaboration video with Tractor Time with Tim. And you talked about that you recommend buying from your local dealer, which you want to support the local business as much as you can, which makes sense, especially with a big piece of equipment that might need service. You want to have that flexibility, but you do sell parts, which is nice for a lot of people who may not have a local dealer. And the fact that they can order online from you, I've heard great things about your parts supplies and maintenance and whatnot, or maintenance supplies.
Yeah, so this is a two-part question almost, right? So yeah, I mean, absolute value in good, strong local dealerships, right? You need those relationships in order to have a good buying process, right? These are hands-on purchases. Generally, very few people walk into a dealership, go out with a tractor, and never come back, right? So they're relationships that matter. Right. I do sell a lot of parts online. Me personally, my background comes more from IT actually than it does from farm machinery. While I've been in this industry most of my life, my background actually is in computers and technology and web development and that kind of thing. And all the original Messick.com e-commerce stuff that we do is stuff that I wrote, that I did. So yeah, we have developed a big following for online parts. Always want to stress though, the type of online business that we do is not just selling parts to somebody who's sitting in their underwear at home, right? That's not, it's the high service model, right? We have a lot of people sitting around on the telephone all day long, walking people through complicated repairs and service issues and that kind of stuff. I spend a lot of time on parts logistics and fulfillment so that we function at a level of Amazon, right? That's what people expect today as far as customer service goes. And so there is a level of service there that we really strive to be able to provide to everybody too. So strong local dealerships, but also, there's an e-commerce model today that much of this industry struggles to fulfill, and something that I work on very hard.
Right. Well, that explains, your technology end of things, with the great website, with the great videos.
The Christmas lights.
To have that. What's that? Oh yeah, the Christmas lights, right? Yeah, the great display. That's fun. I want to show you something, Neil. Speaking of technology and the and YouTube and all that, I searched back on the Messick's YouTube page, and I searched for the oldest video. There's a video on there from 14 years ago. You must have been just a kid yourself. So I don't know if there were more than this, but this was the very first video that I could find on the Messick's channel, and it was 29 seconds. Mini hay baler. And that is seems to be the first video ever by Messick's. Do you remember that video?
I know all about it. Yeah, I mean, that's again, coming from this Lancaster County Amish type community that we're in. There was an Amish shop making these mini balers, and you'll see these things in like craft stores and that kind of thing. And the Amish community doesn't have really ways to reach this broad nationwide audience in a lot of ways, right? They deal mostly local. So we have an arrangement with an Amish shop that manufactures these miniature hay balers for us. And we sell them all over the world, frankly, mostly in the country, but all over the world.
How big is a miniature hay bale?
They make them in a couple different sizes. So the one that you were looking at there makes 4.5 inch by 6 inch bales.
Wow.
And then you can adjust the length of them. So if you got like a little hamster or something and you need some hay for it, that's probably your thing. And then there's a larger pool type version. It's actually looks like a traditional baler, but they've rebuilt the bale chamber to make ones that are 8 by 10.
They're like snacks.
Yeah. If you see miniature hay bales in any kind of craft store, box store, the odds are they came out of one of our balers.
Right. Interesting. Well, fascinating video from 14 years ago on Messick's. All right. Looking at the comments here.
Got a cool one here from TMD. Suggestions on adding security to my BX23S. Cool stuff coming. Kubota just came out with what we would call telematics here at the beginning of the year that allows you to put on a GPS tracking unit, but also one that pulls some engine diagnostics and that kind of stuff and put it onto your machine. And it allows you to shut the machine on and off, gives you geo-tracking and all that kind of stuff. And everything shows up in the My Kubota app. The killer thing about it is it's $599, including 3 years of your cellular service. So yeah, really very fairly priced for what it is.
Yeah.
I have it on 4 machines in my rental fleet, and I can get my phone out here and tell you exactly where they are and tell you the engine hours that are on them. And now it's going to make me log in, bugger.
Of course.
It's really neat. If you have bigger equipment, if you get into things that have engine diagnostic connectors and stuff on them, you can read machine hours and depth fluid levels and pull codes, and it's amazing stuff. $599 is a killer price for what you're getting.
So in the newer equipment, it plugs into an existing technology that's it's built for it, I guess.
It's going to start coming as standard equipment in some of the big machinery,
Right.
but it can be retrofitted back into a lot of current equipment, including the BX23S.
Right. Very neat. Very neat. And there's a compliment on your Christmas lights.
Yeah.
So you do a big musical display. Is that just at one of your locations, right? Your main location?
The Elizabethtown store, the main location where I work and my brothers and stuff are too, is the store that does the Christmas lights. We've tried it at other stores. It takes about 300 hours in order to put that whole show together. So replicating it at other stores is a real challenge.
Very nice.
Is this available? Is telematics on the LX? I think so. They continue to trickle out the wiring harnesses to put that telematics adapter onto more and more equipment. So there's a day coming that we're going to see that kind of Internet of Things technology on most of our machinery.
Right. Right. Very nice. Emery's asking what the top selling tractor is. I don't know if there is one top selling tractor. I would imagine that you sell an awful lot of subcompacts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of regionality and stuff in that too. It's really hard to say. So what is the top selling tractor in my area is wildly different than what it is in, say, the South. There will be some dealers where the Standard L is their biggest volume machine. For me, it's probably BX's, but that really can be all over the map.
Very nice. My latest video actually had one of your pieces of equipment in it. It had a disc harrow. I went over to another person's house, and he bought his tractor locally here, but you had a deal on I guess it was a used piece of equipment, and went up there and picked it up from you. So you do sell used equipment as well?
Yeah.
Trade-ins, whatever
Used
you come across.
trade-ins. With the inventory shortages, I noticed there's a comment in here from Philip that recently picked up, or Philip, Officer Adam rather, that just picked up one of our repossessed ones. So we've been buying some repossessed tractors now recently too. Just trying to get as much inventory on the ground as what we're able to.
Yeah. Well, that's he's the one that was in the video with me. So that was the piece of equipment. So good to know. Very good to know. Looking through questions here. Rear ballast. I added fluid to my rear tires on my B2601. Even with that, I still always put an implement or attachment on the back of the tractor anytime I'm using the loader. I have a 60-inch box blade, and that adds another, a couple hundred pounds probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. As far as how much ballast, do you have an answer for that?
As much as you can get. I mean, I do the same thing. I have fluid-filled tires, and I generally leave my grading scraper on the back, right? You can't have too much. And when you have too little, So
yeah.
With as easy as it is to have a 3-point quick hitch there to back over to something and snap it on when you go to work, if I'm doing anything meaningful, I always have an implement back there.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, M+J, thanks for the reminder. Everybody, if you're enjoying the show, if you click that like button,
there's a good one here from.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't want to talk over you. There's a good one here from Keegan Timber. Is asking about the R14 tires. So I have R14s on my tractor. Now, I haven't really gotten very much seat time here in the last couple of months. One thing that I'm looking forward to is hearing from some actual people and how those things handle. Conceptually, the way the marketing literature for R14s would read is that they are supposed to be more aggressive than an R4. But you look at the tread pattern, there's another tire that we've had in the past called a bar turf that was available in the small B, and it's a pretty similar tire to the bar turf. So I really would like to see some field time with it. It conceivably should be more aggressive than an R4, but in actual practice, I'm not sure that it's going to be. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to getting to shoot some videos on here in the spring.
They are a cool looking tire, though. I didn't even know they existed when I bought mine, and I saw them on a tractor after I brought my tractor home. Like, darn, I would like to have those.
Nobody should want them. So here's what's wrong: is everybody thinks like you now that they think these things are cool because there's a lot of selling features for them, and even more difficult to get. I mean, just super super rare right now.
Yeah.
Like we talked in the Tractor Time with Tim video, Tim ordered his tractor about 4 months ago, and I spent that long trying to get him a set of R14s and ultimately send him out the door with the tires off of my tractor.
With yours, that's right. I remember that.
Find a set.
And I've never regretted my R4s. I mean, they work fine. I don't have any problems at all. It's just that the 14s just look cool. It's just when I saw them, like it's like an ATV tire almost.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking tire. But still, the R4s are very industrial and heavy duty looking, and they are. I mean, they have good thick lugs on them, and I'm very happy with those. So
I'm gonna laugh. All right, Chesapeake Bay Cruiser. I'm guessing must be a kind of local guy to me down here. When does the building get new shingles? Any of you who participate in the comments on my videos, we have a fairly large dealership. several buildings, like 15 acres or so. But at the same time, you wouldn't believe how few places that there are to actually set up and be left alone and actually like shoot a video in the quiet without somebody driving by or making noise or whatever. So I tend to go down in front of an old municipal building that we just bought like 2 years ago. It used to be an old township police building, and they moved out, and we bought their old building. We don't actually really use it for anything. It's some spare offices and a little bit of storage overflow. I think someday if somebody actually really tries to do something there, they're either going to need to invest some money to fix it up or bulldoze it. It could go one way or the other. So we're not fixing the shingles. But I got a follow-up news to release here in probably about 2 months or so that's going to give a little bit of information on why we're not fixing the shingles. So I'm looking forward to putting that out. The roof is totally a running joke. I love it. And someday I'm going to make a video specifically about the shingles. So
you've gotten a lot of comments on the roof?
Got a lot of comments on the roof. And you mentioned before the cool community that there is out here for this tractor stuff. Many people in our dealership read the comments in order just to joke about the roof. It's great.
And I'll be honest, I've noticed it too. The roof. But that is funny. And of course, it's amazing. People notice everything in videos. You have to just, when I edit my videos, there are times when I do something or say something and I'm like, that's going to get a shout out or a comment that I know that I should have done it differently than I did it. And sure enough, there's a comment. So, but we learn from it. I appreciate that. As long as you're not being mean to, it comes with the territory. So thank you, Hoosier Helpers, for that super chat. Really appreciate that. From Peoria. Very nice. Very much appreciated. Anything else here?
There's a lot of good stuff I see coming across here. O&D Life posted about the diff lock breaking issue there, and you see this on a lot of message forums from time to time. My view is there's one guy with an axe to grind who continues to post about this over and over and over again. If you step on a diff lock while the diff is spinning, you're going to shear the pin off when it goes into the hole. So that's proper use of a diff lock is stop your tires from turning, step on the differential, and go back to it again. But the dealership perspective on watching things online, when people have negative experiences and they want to vent those things, that often happens on the internet, right? So a lot of times you'll see things developing on there that just aren't realities in dealership circles. Another thing that happened like that a couple years ago was 3-point hitches on the standard L jerking when they went up and down. Was all over Tractor by Net, if anybody still hangs out there anymore, and just something we never really saw come through the shop before. So yeah, a lot of small issues can be amplified by people to feel like they have an axe to grind.
There was a question about the B26. Is that still in the line, or is that
the B26 tractor loader backhoe?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely is. Mm-hmm.
So that is not in the, like I have the 2601, so there's the B2301, 2401, 2601, but the 26 is a completely different machine, right? Is that?
It would share some things in common with the next chassis size up. So like the B2650 would be the closest tractor to that at this point. And that's a common thing that people, it's hard to go through and look at all these pictures and spec sheets and stuff on the internet. When you go stand beside these things, it becomes relevant and visible very quickly. That's right. You'll notice that right away.
Is that bigger than the 2601? Well, you said
yes,
similar to the 2650, which is
a
little step up, right?
Yep. See one here from Officer Adam that he's come through and asked a couple times. New Holland T5 115 with a loader. How hard is it to get parts or service techs out to a farm? And do we do demo units? Again, you go back to the service side. When you're buying a piece of equipment, the service side is really important, especially if you are a farmer contractor, that kind of stuff, where downtime is more than not just an inconvenience, right? It is profitability. It is feeding your animals and that kind of stuff. In the case of a dealership like us, we would have close to 70 service technicians. Almost 35 of them would have F550s with cranes and generators and air compressors and everything ready to come out to your farm and do service, right? That said, as many people as that is, when we get into springtime and harvest and that kind of stuff, those guys are pounded. The industry and general working habits of people today, there's not enough guys out there wanting to do this kind of work. So, giving us a little bit of time when you're able to, or being really clear with the service manager about how badly you need this problem fixed, is really helpful to us. But huge respect for the service technicians. Those guys work like you can't believe. A lot of them will put in 70, 80-hour weeks and stuff when we're in season and harvest and that kind of stuff, and they work like crazy. It's something else. If you know a young person somewhere who's looking to get into a trade, working on machinery, farm equipment, construction equipment, and that kind of stuff, it's good pay, it's good work, it's highly skilled. There's way more technology in all this stuff than what you would ever guess. I couldn't give a bigger sales pitch to the value that I think there is in somebody choosing that career path.
And it's not going away.
Absolutely not.
There's going to be a need for that, for service forever.
A need for service, and you go look and say, where am I going to be valuable as an employee in the future, right? It's going to be in some of those places where not everybody chooses to go, right?
Right.
And that's one of those places. It's a high tech trade, essentially.
Right. John's asking a question about the BX here. I guess the smaller tractors don't have a set point, I guess, for the 3-point.
So I don't know. Let's put it that way. I can play both sides of this from the salesman's perspective. So I think it would be nice. It's a feature some other manufacturers offer that Kubota does not. That's always a little annoying. If it adds a nickel to the cost of that tractor, I don't know that I want it. And that's simply because 95% of BX customers are perfectly fine with that 3-point hitch up or down, and the middle simply doesn't matter. So if it's going to add any cost onto the machine, I don't think it's worth it. Sway bars would be a nice addition. That was floating around here too. So I'm selling sway bars now for the BX.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. In fact, I know that John, one of his recent videos, demonstrated the installation of those sway bars, and your video demonstrated that. But that, I saw your video with the manufacturer of those sway bars. What a beautiful piece of equipment that is that you're offering.
He's the guy that is making them for me. Is doing a fantastic job with them. I can't take complete credit for this, right? Mark Hodge was one of the first ones that was doing this, and we kind of sat there and couldn't ignore that he was struggling to meet up with the demand, right? So we stepped up and got in that game too, and obviously there's a lot of desire out there for that feature. I couldn't believe how fast we sold them out, but there's more coming, so it's on the way.
That's amazing, because your video showed a crate full of the parts, and so you geared up for a lot of sales, but I guess it even exceeded your expectations. So that's great.
Yeah, it was something else. So it's cool though. You go back to this tractor community stuff. I mean, a lot of this comes from the mods that guys make to their equipment. Like once you have this stuff out and you're working on it, you're tweaking with it, and people being able to share that stuff online and see what others are doing, I think is super cool. I mean, you see I'm sitting in kind of my basement shop here, right? Like in my free time, I like to tinker with this stuff too, right? And I think that's so cool to see this community develop around tractor stuff that's doing the same thing.
Right. Hey, kudos to Edward Joyce for noticing that the drinking bird is facing the other direction tonight. We had a whole conversation about the drinking bird on one of the last live streams, and he did. I'm going to give it a little promotion here, even though I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. But I'm using StreamYard as the app for video streaming, which does a great job. I was watching one of their live streams, and they give away prizes, and I actually won that mug right there from StreamYard. So the drinking bird is using the StreamYard mug. Silly, right? And thank you for the super sticker, Edward Joyce. Very much appreciated. Adding a backhoe to the BX, there's a subframe assembly you have to get with that, obviously, right? It's a whole kit.
Yeah, so the BX itself, I'm going to answer two questions here at the same time. So The subframe for the BX is actually integrated into the frame itself. It's not some kind of bolt-on afterthought type subframe. So it is part of the tractor. So you can't just take Kubota's backhoe and slap it on the back of the BX after the fact. Woods does make a BH6000 backhoe that will do that. So there is an aftermarket option out there if you want. However, I would highly consider most people to look at trading their tractor in and buying a BX23. You may look and say, isn't that going to cost me more money? Right now, especially with the state of tractor sales, the used equipment values are absolutely through the roof. When I'm buying repossessions and looking at auctions and used markets and that kind of stuff, I'm seeing used tractors selling for within a couple $100s of brand new ones. So if you've ever had a time that you think you might want to upgrade or do something like that, now you're going to get the most money for your trade-in that you're ever to now. Consider that.
Yeah, and that was part of my decision when I bought new. Obviously, the financing was
Yeah.
For me, it was necessary and it was great. I mean, the fact that they offered the zero down, the zero, even though I put money down, 0% financing, that's the way things are going, and it was very helpful. I know you get a break if you pay up front, so it's really not, I guess it does cost you something to finance it because you can get a break if you don't finance it, but still, it was very helpful, and I knew when I bought that tractor that it's going to hold its value. I thought, by the time I pay it off in 5 years, it's probably going to be worth almost what I paid for it, or maybe it will be worth what I paid for it. It's just...
It's unreal. I just did an advertising piece that we sent out here this week. So it was a real world examples of trade-ins that we had done. And like BX 2370, 4-year-old tractor that the guy paid $14,500 for, and we traded it back in at $10,500. So the guy had the machine for like 4 years and it cost him $1,000 a year to own it. Like what things can you buy that hold value
certainly
like
not
that?
Cars or trucks, that's for sure.
Some parts of the tractor industry just defy explanation like that.
Yeah. I'm going to pull this question because I know Chess Bay Cruiser, I think, asked it a couple times about diesel additives. I don't really. We don't have hard winters here. I'm in southern New Jersey, and they're pretty mild, so I have never added anything to my fuel. But any thoughts on additives?
It depends on where you're at. So additives are really only needed in cold climates, right? So if you get some, regular sub-zero temperatures and your tractor's not in a heated place, you're going to want to make sure that your fuel is treated. So if you're getting it from the pump regularly, it probably is treated anyway. If your fuel is old and stale and been sitting and you got it back in July, it would have been a different formulation than what they typically put out of the pump in the wintertime. And so treating your fuel would be smart. Most auto parts stores, dealership parts counters are going to sell fuel additives. I think the little thing to treat 250 gallons is like $12. You're never going to hurt anything by throwing a cap full in there every once in a while, right? It's cheap insurance. And every one of us will tell you in the wintertime, 75% of the problems that we're going to see are going to be fuel related. So, keeping care of your diesel fuel and that kind of stuff does absolutely help.
Right. Garrett here has a question about wheel spacers. I guess have they been detrimental in any way, or?
No, actually, and most people don't necessarily always realize this, but there's a lot of tractors where wheel spacers are a factory option. They're not on the BX, which a lot of guys seem to put them on BXs, but for many of your V and LX and standard L series tractors, Kubota sells wheel spacers. So yeah, it's generally not an issue. I've also put dual tires and stuff on some tractors before. Again, that's kind of going off the rails for what the factory is going to recommend, but never caused an issue, right? You're going to make sure that they're set up properly and that kind of stuff, and that you're not hard on your axles, but there's safe ways to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like mine could be wider. The 2601, the way it comes from the factory, it's adequate, but it just looking at it seems like it should be a little wider. And I don't know if you guys are seeing Neil's frozen there a little bit. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Oh, we lost him. Maybe he'll come back. He was getting a little choppy connection. See you, Glenn and Maggie. Good to see you. He's trying to come back in here. Hey there, RCAF Polar Express. Good to see you again, Dave. And let's bring Neil back. There he is. Yeah, you froze up on us there for a moment, and then you went away.
Yep.
It happens.
Called back to work. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's see. Loose Zerk fittings. Yeah, I found a few of those when I did the 50-hour service on my tractor. Even before the 50-hour service, I went around and checked all the bolts. I found loose bolts on the loader. I did find some Zerks that were a little bit loose and just snugged them up. I don't know if that's the fault of the mechanic who put it together, or if it's just average, break-in where bolts come a little bit loose.
Yeah, all of that stuff can always be a little bit of everything, right? So dealerships don't put together every part of your equipment, right? A lot of it comes to us mostly assembled already, and in a lot of cases we're only putting in a dozen bolts or so in order to put the whole thing together. But
right.
Things sometimes, it could be a Friday at 5:00 implement. Those are out there; they exist.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
It's all man-made stuff, right? So there's nothing you're not going to see. But a lot of that does come from wear in, right? Especially in all these parts that are painted. You take your rims, for example, right? They'll paint.
Right. Oh, he's freezing up again. John says his internet needs fuel treatment. So let's see if...
Back again.
He's back again.
Right. Anyway, we were talking about the bolts coming off.
Bolts coming off. Paint on the wheels. Yep.
A lot of times you'll see that those parts are painted underneath, right? And then when they torque that kind of stuff down, that paint then breaks up and the bolts come loose. So there is a certain amount of responsibility on the owner, especially when it comes to lug nuts and that kind of stuff, to be checking and torquing and that kind of stuff. A certain amount of things loosening up is normal, actually. And so, keeping an eye on that stuff is smart.
Yeah. It's good to go around and just retorque. I think it's even in the manual to retorque everything. So
yeah.
I see some specific questions here from Endurance V8s asking about a 3-point hitch not working. That may be a little much for tonight to talk about, but I mean, if you have any answer for that, otherwise it might be, something you really want to check with your dealer on. Or
I'm not a mechanic, so there is a point here that I very quickly will draw the line, because when I pick up a wrench, things get broken. But I do know that replacing the seals and stuff in the cylinder that runs the 3-point hitch is not an uncommon repair. And if you see things happen over time when that hydraulic fluid warms up, means that the fluid is flowing more freely and it's probably pushing past the seal or something. So you want to talk to a shop on that.
Right. I have a question for you. Not about equipment. Tell me about that intro song that you use on all your videos. Was that made for YouTube, or was that from a radio ad or something?
Or jingle?
Yeah, jingle.
No.
It's a catchy little jingle.
It's our marketing guy from years ago got it made up by a radio station, and we've used it ever since.
Yeah, it's catchy. I find myself humming it sometimes. Earworm, right?
That's what it really is.
It is. It's a good one, though. All right, we're looking at comments here. Awkward silence.
But you guys keep going and going and going. So
we have a great turnout here tonight. It's probably the best turnout we've had on a live stream. So thank you for joining us, Neil, for sure.
A lot of these things are things I hope to get to videos on eventually. So like differences in the third function kit between Kubota and Lampride. I've been shooting clips in order to try to make that video for months. Getting me being able to get like a WR long and a Lampride and a Kubota side by side would be fantastic. And I haven't been able to get them all there at the same time, because most of what I shoot with are tractors that are sold and are going out to customers. But yes, there is a difference. The Kubota ones are nicer, largely in that their installation is cleaner. There's places they're going to use hard lines instead of rubber hoses. You'll have some shielding and stuff around the valve body. They will be a little bit more expensive. I would say the cost is justified. I wish I had a Kubota one on my tractor instead of a WR long because of the way the hoses route. But there's a cost difference there as well. So if you want to save the bucks, going with one of the Lampride or WR ones are just fine too.
So this is kind of weird because I don't, I'm not even sure what I have on mine. I ordered it with the tractor, but so there's a Kubota third function and there's a Lampride third function.
There's many companies that make third function valves, right?
But Kubota owns Lampride. So that's kind of weird. Like it's still a Kubota still kind of a Kubota part, I guess, but
they are competing with themselves in
Yeah.
that way, right?
Right.
The Lampride division and the Kubota division are both making the same kit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to say the Land Pride attachments that I have, I've been really impressed by them. I think the tiller is stamped made in USA. It's heavy duty. I've got the RGA 1258. Nice piece of equipment. Here's a question for you. I was going to ask this, and maybe I'll ask this to Tractor Mike next week as well. But this has come up on quite a few live streams with people talking about attachments and implements. And people ask, what's the difference between an attachment and an implement? Are they the same thing? Are there?
I'll call them the same thing.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of funny. We all we laugh. Not that we're making fun of people, but we'll get people will come in and ask for a fell, and every one of us will look at each. What's a fell? But it's somebody's doing people abbreviate front end load or FEL on Facebook and that kind of stuff, and guys will come in and start adopting some of that language sometimes.
Yeah.
It's funny what things are called.
Yeah, that's funny. Do you sell the WR Long third function as well? Okay, so you've got them all available there.
Yep. Yeah, we're very fortunate to be so diverse that, especially now where we start having supply problems. WR Long right now is pumping valves out with no problem at all, where Lampride's got a back order, right? So we will shift between vendors depending on either what suits you or what we can get our hands on.
Right. And we're looking through.
I got a good one right there. Endurance V8. What is my favorite tractor? Have yet to make a video on it. It's one of two. Kubota makes a G2160 R48S.
Whoa.
Longest model number, right? It is a G series garden tractor, 2-wheel drive, 48-inch mower deck, and then the discharge for the clippings is through the middle, up under the seat into a hopper that sits behind the machine. You then pull a lever in order to kick the hopper open in order to dump it. It is 21 horse diesel power steering. It's really cool. If you want to have fun sometime, go look at Kubota's European website. The Europeans get all kinds of cool bagging options and that kind of stuff that we don't have here. And oddly enough, those European tractors are made in Gainesville, Georgia, shipped over there, but they don't give them to us to sell.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And that tractor was one of those machines, and eventually it was discontinued for low sales. They tell me they don't give that to us because the grass conditions across the U.S. are really varied from one state to the next, and the cutting performance of that deck doesn't meet their expectations across the entire country. So in Europe, where they can sell it into the right pockets, they're allowed to have it. But that one is really cool. The other one I really like would be New Holland's older TC series, TC40, TC45, if you're into like compact tractors. That would be a 10 or 15-year-old tractor at this point, but engineering and design-wise was very ahead of its time. Really cool tractor. Not a lot of them were sold. You won't find a lot of them out there because they were pretty expensive. But New Holland was doing some really cool stuff at that point, and that's one of their favorite tractors for me.
You did a video probably a couple of years ago now. I think it was a New Holland, and it was just a basic farm tractor, 2-wheel drive, manual transmission. I'm thinking it was New Holland. I thought it was blue. And there's something about that. I don't have a need for it, but I thought I want a tractor like that. There's something neat about it being a basic tractor.
Yeah.
Good old farm tractor. It'd be great for pulling wagons or baling hay or whatever.
And that stuff still exists. I mean, those machines are still out there. They're in most of the manufacturers' product catalogs. It's just to today's modern consumer in all segments, be it farmers or whatever, are really demanding comfort features and that kind of stuff too. So certain brands will get impressions of being overpriced or underpriced or whatever, and a lot of times that's very simply people looking at the wrong part of the product line. Right. If you dive over into some of those old school, simple tractors, there's some real value machines out there.
Yeah. And nostalgic, it's I grew up, with a hay field outside my bedroom window. And I remember hearing the neighbor on his 2-cylinder John Deere baling hay in the summers. Just that distinct sound of that putt-putt tractor with just a 2-cylinder. But just I thought that was a bit of nostalgia when I saw that, because everything's 4-wheel drive now and fancy, and that was just a neat basic machine. So yeah. Sorry, Edward, no hot dog cam tonight. We'll work on that for a future live stream. In one of my past live streams, Neil, I had a second camera set up on the grill, and I was cooking a hot dog, and I just left it there all night, and we kept cutting to it to see, just to see,
torture us all the whole time.
see what was happening to the hot dog cam. It was very anticlimactic, so we'll try something fun another time. Let's see. And again, folks in the comments are helping each other, which is great. They're asking questions, and some of the questions are being answered. So we appreciate the viewers for chiming in there. There's a lot of experience out there, a lot of experience. Oh, changing the hydrostatic. I'm not sure what tractor you're... Oh, on the B2601. Well, one of my videos was the 50-hour service. And I had seen other videos that there's that one filter that you just have to be ready for that oil to gush out. I talked to my dealer, and they're like, nope, you just got to be quick. So I did it. I really didn't lose that much. I have heard a comment that people talking about hooking up a shop vac to the filler hole to try and create a negative pressure on the hydraulic fluid, so when you take the filter off, it doesn't pour out. I don't know if that'll work or not. But it's not so bad if you're quick. Any thoughts on that, Neil?
No, I mean the shop vac trick is the only thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, but that'd be a good video, like a MythBusters type video. Like, can you actually keep the fluid from coming out? Or if your shop vac is too strong, you suck the fluid out of the top.
So yeah, there's a fun one. So I ought to do this one. So Keegan Timber there caught my Fun Dad Toys sign right up here behind you. Okay, give me 10 seconds.
Yeah. Good to see you, TYM Customs.
So you probably wouldn't guess this to me, but I have an Etsy store. Now I closed it here recently. Okay. In my free time, of which I have a little bit every day, generally right about now, my wife goes to bed pretty early after I have 2 kids once they're asleep. I come down here, and I enjoy 3D printing. So I have a little 3D printing shop down here. I do a little bit of design work and that kind of stuff. But for about a year and a half, I made these.
Wow.
They're high-end Nerf guns. So when my kids go out and play Nerf in the backyard, I got into manufacturing these here in my basement. So these are all 3D printed plastic parts,
nice.
Metal rods and hardware and everything that I buy. And then I sold about 100 of these on Etsy. And I thought it was super, super fun. Like I can sit down here, I can design parts and build stuff in my basement at night. And instead of sitting in front of the TV all night long and just kind of sitting around, I come down here and I build Nerf guns. So that's Fun Dad Toys. So I don't do it anymore. I had a insurance agent talk me out of it for liability concerns. But these will shoot Nerf darts at about 250 feet per second. They'll leave welts and that kind of stuff. And,
wow.
But it's a lot of fun.
So if you're lucky enough to have one of Neil's Nerf guns there, it'll be a classic. So, by the way, I have shared with people that I have created a little merch store myself. If you go to shopmcg.com, I've got some shirts and mugs and stickers and all kind of things. Cheers to that. But and you also have merch on your website. You've got Kubota gear, different gear, classics, hats and shirts and fun things like that. There's a whole section dedicated to
merch.
To merch, and that's good. That's fun stuff. Excellent. So before we wrap up, Neil, I do want to offer one of the viewers, to win these 3 stickers. I didn't write down a trivia question, but I want your help in picking out a winner of who that would go to. What can we ask the fine folks out there about anything we talked about tonight that they may have picked up on? Any thoughts?
I'm trying to think of something challenging. Boy. Give me the model number off of the mower deck on a BX 2230.
Holy cow. That's challenging, all right. Does anybody have it?
I mean, I can recite these things from memory.
Of course.
Yeah.
Somebody asked how you know all those facts. It's a BX what?
2230.
Is that
Be an
is that common?
RCK 6022BX.
So you
we
didn't
can come up
expect
with
anybody to
something
answer
else.
that question.
Oh, there you got it. You'd have to type that awfully quickly in order to get it from me. Husker
Are they
Helpers,
right?
did you get it?
Hoosier Helpers,
that's
is
right.
that right? Oh,
Totally
nice.
right.
Well, then Hoosier Helpers, you're going to win these 3 stickers. And what you have to do is send an email to me stating that you won the contest. Tell me what the question was, what the answer was, and I will send these to you. I'm going to show you my email address. If you just email me at contactmcgtv@gmail.com. Did I say that right? Contactmcgtv@gmail.com. Did you write that down, Hoosier Helpers? Because I'm going to get rid of it in a second. Hurry up, write it down. No, that's all right. You can look at the playback or find me on Facebook, anywhere. Congratulations, Hoosier Helpers, for winning that fun question. Neil, we're past the 8 o'clock hour. I don't like to keep people much longer than an hour, although we probably could talk much longer. But I respect your time, and I know you're not only a busy worker, but a busy dad, and you gave up some time with your family to be with us tonight, and I really appreciate that. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to tell the good folks out here?
I appreciate it, guys. It was I've never done this before. It was really fun. I appreciate all the stuff that came through the comments. It certainly kept us hopping, right? I mean, no shortage of things for us to talk about for an hour and 10 minutes now.
It's hard to keep up with the comments for sure, but we really appreciate folks tuning in and asking those questions. It makes for a great night and a great time. So with that, Neil, I want to thank you again. I really appreciate you being with us tonight, and I've really enjoyed talking with you. I look forward to videos that you put out in the future. I want to encourage folks to visit the Messick's website, visit the Messick's YouTube page and YouTube channel. You'll learn a lot from that. And again, if you don't have a local dealer, certainly check out their website. They'll ship parts to you, ship maintenance kits, whatever you need there. But great to know, great to see. With that, I hope that folks will come back on Thursday night to see Josh from Stony Ridge Farmer. That's going to be a fun night. And Neil, we'll catch up with you another time soon, I hope.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you next time.